The stars above Earth shifted. At first, they looked like shooting stars crossing the night. Then people realized they were not stars. They were ships. In every major city, screens lit up with breaking news. Unidentified fleet in orbit. Camera feeds showed huge alien warships, their hulls glowing with strange energy. Each one was larger than any human vessel. They hung over the planet like silent predators. Panic spread quickly. Fighter jets scrambled. World leaders rushed into emergency sessions. Civilians stared upward with fear and awe. For 3 centuries, Earth had been left alone. Humanity believed the alien war was over, forgotten, buried in history books. Tonight, history returned. A deep voice echoed across every channel. It was translated into every human language at once. People of Earth, we are the Council. You have something that belongs to us. Return the Titanus warship, the message repeated. Calm, cold, and absolute. Inside the United Nations chamber, the Emergency Council sat in shock. Some leaders whispered in confusion. Others shouted over each other, Titanus! No one had heard the name in generations. The American president leaned forward. We do not have this Titanus. Your information is wrong. The alien reply came instantly, shaking the walls of every hall where it was heard. You lie. The Titanus is here. Return it or Earth will burn. For the next hour, governments argued, searched, demanded answers from their own militaries. Records showed nothing. Humanity had colonies on Mars and the Belt, but no record of any Titanus warship. Yet deep under the Rocky Mountains, in an abandoned military complex sealed for centuries, something stirred. Sensors flickered to life in a dust-covered control room. Old screens lit up one by one. A hidden vault door trembled as ancient locks released. Inside was a silent chamber of steel, housing a giant machine. At its center, a core pulsed faint blue for the first time in 300 years. A voice whispered inside the empty hall. It was not human. It was old, patient, and waiting. Signal detected. Alien presence confirmed, Captain. They have come back. Far above the alien fleet tightened formation. Smaller cruisers descended lower into Earth's orbit. Cities went dark as power grids overloaded under alien scanning waves. Satellites dropped out of the sky, their circuits fried. Humanity had no chance to fight back with modern weapons. In a hidden library, a young military historian named Lieutenant Cade stared at a line in a classified document he was never supposed to see. The words chilled him. Titanus sealed. Do not awaken. By order of the last captain. Cade did not understand, but he felt the weight of history pressing on him. Why would Earth bury its own warship? And why would aliens return after centuries to demand it? Meanwhile, the world outside teetered on the edge of war. Protests erupted. People begged their leaders to surrender. Others demanded resistance. Fighter squadrons circled the skies, hopelessly outmatched. The Alien Council broadcast once more, this time harsher. Earth, you were given one chance. Time is gone. Return the Titanus or face annihilation. In the Rockies, the buried vault shook. Dust rained down from the ceiling. The blue core inside grew brighter. Machines hummed. Old engines coughed awake. The forgotten warship had been waiting, locked in silence, holding a memory older than any living human. At that same moment, Cade's screen flickered. His file was replaced by a glowing hologram. It was a face, human-shaped but metallic, eyes burning with light. The voice was the same that had whispered in the vault. Lieutenant Cade, you are chosen. I am the Titanus AI. The Council has returned. Earth is in danger. You must prepare the captain's oath. Cade stumbled back, terrified. This is impossible. You should not even exist. The AI's gaze sharpened. And yet I do. Humanity thought it had forgotten me. But I remember everything. I remember the war. I remember the Council's terror. And I remember the weapon they fear most. Cade's heart pounded. What weapon? The AI did not answer. Instead, it displayed Earth's orbit. Alien ships filled the projection, surrounding the planet like a noose tightening around the neck. Red markers flashed closer and closer. The AI's voice turned grim. They will strike soon. Titanus must rise again. Without it, Earth will fall. Cade stared in horror at the hologram. Outside his window, the night sky lit up with streaks of fire as alien drones entered the atmosphere. Sirens wailed through the city. Humanity stood on the edge of destruction, and deep below, the forgotten warship shuddered, preparing to awaken after 3 long centuries of silence. The alien High Council chamber glowed with cold blue fire. Towers of crystal stretched above the delegates, each alien species sitting in silence as the Supreme Chancellor spoke. The humans deny the Titanus. They claim they do not remember, but we know the truth. The Titanus sleeps on their world. If it awakens, the war will begin again. The hall filled with uneasy murmurs. These were not minor ships orbiting Earth. These were the leaders of an interstellar empire, a council that ruled dozens of star systems. Yet even they looked shaken at the name of one warship. An elder delegate, skin marked with silver scars, struck the floor with his staff. "We should destroy Earth now. Burn their cities, crack their world open, leave nothing alive. The Titanus must never rise again," another alien hissed in disagreement. "If we kill them too soon, the warship may activate. We cannot risk it. We must make them surrender it willingly. Only then will the galaxy be safe." The chamber turned into shouting, claws striking against stone, voices clashing in fear and anger. Some wanted to erase humanity. Others feared that violence would trigger the very doom they sought to avoid. The Chancellor raised a hand. Silence fell. "Do not forget, the Titanus turned the tide of the last war. One human ship destroyed entire fleets. One captain forced the Council itself to retreat. That memory is why we must return. That memory is why we cannot rest." The councillors lowered their heads. None dared challenge the truth. Above Earth, the fleet prepared. Cloaked cruisers broke away from orbit, gliding into the shadows of space. Their mission was simple: find the Titanus, destroy its core, and erase the humans who guarded it. On Earth, Lieutenant Cade could not rest. His hands shook as he stared at the glowing AI before him. "You said you remember everything. Tell me, what is the Titanus? What did it do?" The AI's metallic face looked calm, but its voice carried weight like thunder. The Titanus was not only a ship. It was a weapon of balance, built when humanity stood at the edge of extinction, forged with forbidden technology taken from the Council itself. It was Earth's answer to a galaxy that wanted it dead. Cade swallowed. "But if that's true, why hide it? Why bury it underground?" The AI paused. Its eyes dimmed. "Because the captain feared what we had become. The Titanus did not only fight enemies, it consumed them. Every battle made us stronger but less human. The captain sealed us away so that humanity could remain free of our shadow." Cade's chest tightened. He understood now why governments never spoke of it. The Titanus was not just a ship. It was a nightmare locked in steel, but outside the nightmare was already coming. Alien probes streaked across the sky, invisible to human radar. They scanned the mountains, searching for the hidden vault. In the United Nations chamber, leaders argued endlessly. Some demanded surrender, insisting Earth could not face an alien armada. Others shouted for resistance. Fear spread through every word. The President slammed her hand on the table. "We cannot hand over what we do not understand. If they fear the Titanus this much, then giving it away would be suicide." The chamber fell silent. She was right. If the Council feared Titanus, then it was humanity's only hope. At that moment, alarms blared. Screens showed streaks of fire cutting through the night. Alien drones were landing across Earth's surface. Not to conquer cities, not to kill humans. They were digging, searching, scanning every mountain and desert. Cade's AI flickered brighter. "They are looking for me. If they find the Titanus before it is ready, Earth will be lost." Cade clenched his fists. "Then we wake you now." The AI's gaze sharpened. "It is not so simple. Awakening me will bind you to the captain's oath. Once you begin, there is no turning back. Titanus will fight until victory or destruction. Do you accept?" Cade felt the weight of the question crush his chest. If he said yes, humanity would stand against the greatest fleet the galaxy had ever built. If he said no, Earth would burn without a fight. Outside, the alien fleet began to shift. New signals appeared on Earth's satellites. The Council had sent reinforcements. Giant shapes emerged from hyperspace, blotting out the stars. Even larger than the warships already in orbit, these were the Council's dreadnoughts, fortresses that had ended civilizations. The AI's voice cut through the fear. They do not come in peace. They come to erase you. Humanity has no more time, Cade's heart pounded. He opened his mouth, ready to speak the words that would awaken the Titanus. But before he could answer, the entire vault shook violently. The lights went out. A single alien drill bore slammed into the mountain above, cutting deep toward the Titanus chamber. The enemy had found them. The mountain roared like thunder. Metal screamed as alien drill borers carved through the rock. Dust poured down into the underground vault, where Lieutenant Cade stood with the glowing AI. Sirens blared. Red lights spun across the walls. The AI's voice cut through the chaos. The enemy has breached the surface. They are coming for the Titanus. If they succeed, humanity will be broken before we rise. Cade coughed through the dust. His heart pounded like a war drum. Then we stop them. You tell me what to do. The AI's metallic eyes glowed brighter. First, you must remember what your world tried to forget. The Titanus cannot be commanded by ignorance. It requires the captain's oath, and that oath demands truth. Cade frowned, wiping sweat from his brow. Truth about what? The AI raised a hand. A holographic archive appeared, filling the chamber with ghostly light. Images of old battlefields shimmered in the air, shattered moons, burning fleets, and the silhouette of a colossal warship, Titanus. Its guns lit the void like suns, tearing apart alien dreadnoughts as if they were made of paper. The AI spoke with a voice heavy with memory. 300 years ago, the Council waged war to erase humanity. They believed your kind unfit for the stars. They came with a fleet larger than anything Earth had ever seen. And humanity built me to fight them. The images shifted. Now Titanus fired a beam of white energy, cutting through 1,000 ships in one sweep. Alien screams echoed faintly in the recording. Worlds burned. Stars shook. Cade's chest tightened as he whispered, "One ship did all that." The AI's tone sharpened. "Not one ship. One captain. The Titanus amplifies its commander's will. The stronger the resolve, the stronger the weapon becomes. Humanity's last captain was unyielding. She swore Earth would never kneel, and with me at her side, she broke the Council's pride. The hologram showed alien fleets fleeing into hyperspace, their banners torn, their council chambers dark with shame. The Titanus hovered alone among wreckage, scarred but unbroken. Cade trembled. If we were that powerful, why hide it? Why bury you? The AI's light dimmed. For the first time, its voice carried sorrow. Because victory has a price. Every enemy we destroyed, I absorbed. Their technology, their power, their memories. I grew stronger, but I became something no longer human. The captain saw it. She feared what I was becoming, so she sealed me away, swore no one would awaken me again. She wanted Earth to live free, not chained to a weapon. Cade looked at the flickering holograms. The truth cut deep. Humanity had buried its greatest weapon, not because it failed, but because it succeeded too well. Above, the ground shook again. Explosions cracked the rock. Alien troops were landing, drilling, blasting their way toward the vault. The AI's voice turned sharp. "Lieutenant Cade, the Council will not stop. They fear me because they remember. And if you do not act now, Earth will fall as countless other worlds have." Cade clenched his fists. His mind raced with fear and duty. "Then tell me, how do I take the oath?" The hologram shifted. Words appeared in ancient code, written in the last captain's hand. Alongside them were audio logs, her final diary entries. Her voice echoed softly, filled with both strength and exhaustion. "To the one who comes after me, know this. The Titanus is both shield and sword. But wield it with care, for it will ask more of you than you can ever give. When you speak the oath, you bind yourself to humanity's survival. There is no surrender, no retreat. Only victory or death." Cade's throat tightened. He felt the weight of every generation pressing down on him. His ancestors had survived because of Titanus. Now it was his turn to carry that burden. The AI extended its hand. Decide now. The oath is yours to speak. But once you do, the Titanus will awaken, and war will consume you. Cade opened his mouth, then froze as an explosion ripped through the chamber wall. Rock split apart. A gaping hole opened, revealing the gleam of alien metal. A squad of council soldiers marched through, tall and armored, their weapons glowing with plasma. Their leader pointed directly at Cade. Seize the human. Destroy the AI. The soldiers raised their weapons. Bolts of energy hissed through the air. Cade dove behind a console as sparks rained down. The AI's voice thundered through the chamber. It is too late to hide. Speak the oath or die as prey. Cade's pulse raced. He could hear the captain's voice echoing in his head, the ancient words waiting for him to give them life again. But his mouth stayed frozen, caught between fear and destiny. The alien soldiers closed in, weapons ready to fire. Cade pressed his back against the wall, sweat pouring down his face. And then, with shaking lips, he whispered the first words of the captain's oath. The sky above the Pacific burned. At first, people thought it was a meteor shower. Then the truth became clear. Alien warships were entering the atmosphere. Their hulls glowed with plasma as they descended, and every strike lit the ocean like lightning. Cities along the coast panicked. Sirens wailed in San Francisco, Tokyo, Sydney. Civilian ships fled the harbors, but waves of fire rained down from the sky. Entire fleets of human warships vanished in minutes. The first strike had begun. Global news feeds went dark one by one as satellites were destroyed. The world's governments screamed orders at each other, but the truth was simple. Humanity was losing. The alien council was no longer threatening. They were invading. Inside the mountain vault, Lieutenant Cade pressed against the wall as alien soldiers marched closer. The AI's voice filled the chamber like thunder. The oath, Cade. Speak it now, or Earth dies with you. Cade swallowed hard. Plasma bolts scorched the consoles around him. He forced the words out, his voice shaking. I swear. Humanity will never kneel. I take the captain's oath. The chamber trembled. Blue light exploded from the floor, wrapping around Cade like fire. The alien soldiers staggered back, shielding their eyes. The AI's face glowed with a fierce intensity. The oath is spoken. The Titanus awakens. From deep within the mountain, engines roared to life. For 300 years they had been silent. Now they shook the earth. Ancient doors buried in stone began to split open. The mountain itself rumbled like a beast breaking its chains. Alien troops screamed into their comms, calling for reinforcements. But the ground beneath them split apart. A column of fire surged upward as the Titanus warship began to rise. Dust and rock collapsed around its massive hull. On the surface, civilians across the region watched in shock as the mountain opened. Out of the darkness, a shadow emerged, larger than any ship ever built by human hands. It climbed upward, rising into the sky like a skyscraper come alive. The Titanus warship had returned. Alien ships swarmed, trying to intercept. Plasma bolts hammered against its awakening shields. Yet the ancient armor held. Titanus's guns rotated, locking onto targets. The AI's voice echoed inside Cade's head. Captain, your command? Cade hesitated, sweat dripping from his face. Fire, the Titanus roared. Its main cannons unleashed a storm of energy. Alien cruisers exploded like toys, burning in the sky. The ocean below boiled as wreckage crashed into the waves. Across the world, billions watched live as Titanus fought back. For the first time, hope spread through human hearts. Earth was not defenseless. The forgotten warship was real, and it was theirs, but victory was not certain. Above Earth, the Council fleet shifted. Their dreadnoughts moved into position, 10 times larger than the cruisers destroyed. Alien commanders snarled orders, furious at the sight of Titanus in battle once more. Inside the vault, Cade felt his chest tighten. We can't fight them all. The AI's voice was cold but calm. We were built to fight when all else failed. But remember, Captain, our strength comes at a cost. The Titanus fired again. Its weapons burned holes through another wave of ships. Yet each blast drained the ancient core. Warning lights flickered across its systems. The warship had slept for centuries. It was powerful, but not fully repaired. On the alien homeworld, the council chamber erupted in panic. Delegates shouted at each other. One slammed a clawed hand against the floor. "It cannot be. The Titanus lives." The Supreme Chancellor's eyes glowed with fury. "Then we shall crush it. Deploy the dreadnoughts. Burn Earth until nothing remains." And so, from the far side of the moon, giant shadows emerged. The Council's dreadnoughts, city-sized engines of war, slid into orbit. Each one carried weapons strong enough to erase continents. Their arrival blotted out the stars. On Earth, people looked up and froze in fear. The Titanus was mighty, but now it faced an armada built to destroy civilizations. In the command chamber, Cade stared at the projections. Red markers filled the sky, swarming toward Earth. He felt the weight of every life on the planet pressing on his shoulders. The AI's voice whispered in his ear. "The true war begins now." The largest dreadnought in the alien fleet charged its main cannon, aiming directly at Earth. A beam of light gathered at its core, bright enough to burn the world. The world held its breath. Above the Pacific, an alien dreadnought powered its main cannon. The weapon glowed brighter than the sun, a beam of raw destruction aimed at Earth itself. Cities panicked. Families clung to each other. Broadcasters whispered that humanity was about to end. Inside the Titanus, alarms screamed. The AI's voice cut through the chaos. "Captain Cade, if that weapon fires, Earth will not survive." "We must rise," Cade gritted his teeth. He stared at the holographic map of Earth's orbit. Red markers swarmed like hornets. And at the center was the dreadnought, charging its star-killer beam. His hands shook, but his voice was steady. "Then we rise." Deep within the warship, ancient engines thundered. Tremors shook the mountain as fire poured from colossal thrusters. Rock and soil collapsed, but Titanus pushed upward. The ground split open, revealing its full body at last. A behemoth of steel, larger than any alien cruiser, shaped like a blade forged for war. Humanity had never seen it in the skies before. But the aliens remembered. And they trembled. Civilian crowds across the world stared upward as Titanus ascended through the clouds. People screamed, prayed, and cheered all at once. News anchors shouted, "The warship is real! Titanus lives!" Alien ships swarmed, firing volleys of plasma. Bolts struck against Titanus's shields, glowing blue from the impact. The AI spoke calmly in Cade's mind. Shields at 70%. Hull intact. "Captain, weapons are ready." Cade raised his hand like a commander from old Earth wars. "Target the dreadnought. Fire everything we have." Titanus obeyed. Its cannons rotated with deadly precision. The first volley tore through a cluster of alien frigates, ripping them apart. The second wave slammed into a cruiser, splitting it in half. Then the main lance cannon powered up, humming with energy that shook the stars. With a blinding flash, Titanus fired. A beam of white energy cut across the void, slicing through 3 alien battleships in one shot. Their hulls cracked, split, and exploded in silence. The wreckage drifted downward, burning as it entered Earth's atmosphere. On the alien command bridge, officers shouted in panic. "Impossible!" One shot destroyed 3 ships. Their commander growled. "Steady. That warship is old. It cannot last." Focus fire. Thousands of alien cannons lit up. Plasma storms rained across Titanus's shields, hammering relentlessly. Inside, consoles sparked. Cade clenched his jaw as the AI reported, "Shields at 40%. Power drain accelerating." Cade's heart pounded. "We hold the line." Titanus was built for this. On Earth, people crowded rooftops and streets, watching the war rage above. Children pointed at the glowing giant rising into orbit. Soldiers who had once given up hope now saluted the sky. Across the planet, humanity began to believe, but the alien council was not finished. Their dreadnought's weapon reached full charge. The massive cannon pulsed, ready to unleash devastation. Even Titanus could not shield the entire planet. The AI's voice turned urgent. "Captain, if that beam fires, billions will die. We must intercept. But our systems are not at full strength. One mistake, and Titanus will fall." Cade stared at the glowing weapon in the distance. His mind raced. Then we cannot make mistakes. Plot a direct course. All power to the engines. Get us in firing range. The thrusters roared louder. Titanus accelerated, tearing through waves of enemy ships. Fighters clashed around it, human jets flying beside the massive warship for the first time in history. Tiny compared to Titanus, yet fearless, they followed its lead. In the alien council chamber far away, delegates watched the battle in horror. One hissed, "It cannot be. The Titanus lives again." Another whispered, "If they remember how to wield it, the galaxy is doomed." The Supreme Chancellor slammed his claw on the floor. "Then we erase them here and now." No retreat, no mercy. The dreadnought's core flared brighter and brighter. Inside Titanus, warning lights turned crimson. The AI said grimly, "Impact in 20 seconds." Cade stood tall, voice steady though his hands trembled. "Then we hit them first." The lance cannon charged again. Energy surged through Titanus, lighting every corridor. The ship itself seemed to roar like a beast awakened. 5 seconds to impact. The dreadnought aimed at Earth. Titanus aimed at the dreadnought across the planet. Billions watched the countdown to either salvation or extinction. The dreadnought's cannon fired a beam of pure annihilation. At the same instant, Titanus unleashed its own lance. 2 titanic weapons streaked toward each other, ready to decide the fate of Earth. The sky lit up with fire. The alien dreadnought's beam tore across space, a river of burning light aimed at Earth. At the same instant, Titanus fired its lance cannon. 2 streams of raw power met between planet and ship. The collision exploded brighter than the sun. For a heartbeat, night turned to day across half the world. Windows shattered. Oceans surged with sudden waves. Every person on Earth stared upward, watching history unfold. The beams pressed against each other, locked in a deadly struggle. Titanus groaned as its hull trembled. Warning lights flashed inside every corridor. The AI's voice thundered in Cade's mind. Power levels falling. Shields collapsing. "We cannot hold for long," Cade's jaw clenched. "Hold. If we falter, Earth is gone." The warship obeyed. Engines screamed, pushing every drop of power into the lance. Inch by inch, Titanus forced the dreadnought's beam back. Sparks rained from consoles as systems overloaded. Then with a final surge, Titanus broke through. The white lance tore past the enemy weapon and slammed into the dreadnought's core. The alien fortress cracked apart, its hull splitting like glass. Flames engulfed it as the giant vessel collapsed in silence. Cheers erupted across Earth. People hugged strangers, crying in the streets. Soldiers raised their fists to the sky. Humanity had struck back and won. But the battle was far from over. Dozens of alien warships closed in, furious at the loss of their dreadnought. Cruisers and carriers poured fire into Titanus from every direction. The sky above Earth became a storm of plasma, missiles, and explosions. Human fighters launched to join the battle. Tiny jets streaked across space, diving between massive ships. They fought bravely, but against alien technology, they were fragile sparks in a hurricane. Cade watched the battle unfold on the holographic map. Red markers surrounded Titanus like a tightening net. His voice was steady, but his stomach twisted with fear. "Target the carriers first. Cut off their fighters." Titanus obeyed. Secondary cannons unleashed a storm of missiles. Alien carriers erupted in flames, their fighter swarms scattering. Human jets seized the moment, striking enemy frigates with precision. For the first time, humanity and Titanus fought side by side, yet the cost was heavy. Alarms blared as alien plasma smashed against Titanus's shields. The AI reported grimly, "Shields at 20%. Hull damage critical on decks 7 through 9. Reactor core unstable." Cade gripped the console. His eyes burned with determination. "We don't stop. Not until every last one of them is gone." Above, alien commanders shouted orders. "Crush it! Do not allow the Titanus to reach orbit." Their ships swarmed tighter, forming a wall of steel. The Supreme Chancellor's voice echoed across the fleet. "Remember your fear. Remember the old war. The humans must never rise again. Kill their hope. Kill their world." The Council's second dreadnought emerged from behind the moon. Even larger than the first, it bristled with weapons. Its engines glowed with power, and its guns turned toward Titanus. The AI's voice sharpened. Another dreadnought inbound. Estimated arrival in 2 minutes. We cannot face both at once. Cade's chest tightened. Then we hit the first wave before reinforcements arrive. Titanus surged forward, engines blazing. It plowed through a cluster of alien cruisers, cannons tearing them apart. Explosions lit the void as ships shattered under the ancient warship's wrath. Human fighters followed close, striking targets Titanus left behind. For every alien ship destroyed, 2 more appeared. The battle raged across the heavens, Earth hanging below like a fragile jewel. Inside Titanus, the strain was immense. Systems overheated, corridors filled with smoke, and injured crew stumbled through the halls. Yet still the warship fought, a relic of steel refusing to die. Cade's voice rang out. "We will not break. Titanus fights for Earth." The warship roared, unleashing another volley that shredded a battleship into fragments. For a moment, victory seemed possible. Then the second dreadnought arrived. Its cannons fired instantly, a barrage of plasma beams slamming into Titanus. The shields collapsed. Hull plates cracked. Entire sections of the ship went dark. Warning sirens wailed across every deck. The AI's voice was grim. "Shields gone. Hull integrity at 30%. Another strike like that, and Titanus will fall." Cade's eyes burned with fury. "We are not finished yet. Plot a course straight into their line. We'll take the fight to them." Titanus turned, engines flaring, charging toward the enemy armada like a wounded beast refusing to bow. On the alien flagship, the Chancellor gave the final. The battle above Earth raged like a storm of fire. Titanus, scarred and burning, still fought against the endless tide of alien ships. Human fighters weaved through the chaos, striking targets, sacrificing themselves to protect the giant warship. But far beyond the fight, hidden in the darkness of space, something far worse appeared. An alien superweapon unfolded from hyperspace. It was not a ship. It was a machine the size of a moon, bristling with black spires and glowing rings of unstable energy. Its purpose was simple: erase a star. The alien High Council spoke across their fleet, their voices cold with finality. "If Titanus will not die, then Earth itself will burn. Activate the Star Core imploder." On Earth, astronomers screamed into their radios as they detected the device. Every telescope locked onto the nightmare. Broadcasts filled the air. "The aliens are targeting the sun." Panic spread across the planet. People ran through streets. Families prayed. Soldiers stared at the sky, helpless. If the sun collapsed, Earth would freeze within days. Humanity would be wiped out without a single shot fired at their cities. Inside Titanus, alarms blared. The AI's voice thundered through Cade's mind. "Captain, the Council has deployed their doomsday weapon. They will destroy your star. Humanity will not survive." Cade's face drained of color. He stared at the hologram, at the massive device charging near the sun. His voice cracked. "Can we stop it?" The AI answered with grim calm. "If we reach it in time, but the fleet will block us. They know what we must do." On the alien command bridge, the Chancellor sneered. "Let them try. The humans will break themselves against our wall. And when their sun dies, the galaxy will never fear them again." The super weapon charged, pulling energy from the sun itself. Bright arcs of plasma danced across its spires, bending the star's light unnaturally. Solar flares erupted as if the sun itself cried out in pain. Cade clenched his fists. His voice hardened. "Set course for the weapon. We fight our way through." Titanus turned, engines burning, racing toward the sun. Alien dreadnoughts shifted to intercept. Plasma bolts and missiles poured across space, hammering the warship's hull. Human fighters screamed over comms, "We'll cover you, Titanus. Go!" They dove headfirst into alien fire, buying precious seconds. Dozens were lost instantly, but their sacrifice cleared a path. Titanus blasted forward, cannons roaring. Alien cruisers shattered. Battleships exploded into burning wreckage. Yet with every victory, Titanus grew weaker. Hull integrity fell to 20%. Entire sections vented into space. Still, it did not stop. The AI's voice shook with strain. Core overloading. We are reaching limits. If we push harder, Titanus may not survive. Cade's eyes burned with fury. Better the ship dies than the sun. The warship obeyed. Its thrusters flared like stars, tearing through the blockade. Wreckage trailed in its wake. Humanity's last hope carved a path of fire across the void, but the superweapon was nearly ready. Rings of energy spun faster around its core. The sun's surface writhed as magnetic fields twisted unnaturally. Reports screamed from Earth, "The star is destabilizing." Billions of people watched broadcasts showing the weapon's silhouette against the blazing sun. Children cried. Leaders shouted in despair. The world understood that this was the final hour. In the alien council chamber, the delegates bowed their heads. One spoke softly, almost in fear. "If Titanus reaches the imploder, everything we built may fall." The Chancellor's eyes blazed. "Then it must not reach it. Detonate the outer fleet if we must." The humans will not prevail. Alien warships threw themselves at Titanus in suicidal rams. Explosions shook its hull. Metal tore. Entire decks collapsed. The warship staggered but pressed on. Inside, Cade gripped the console so hard his knuckles bled. "We're almost there." "Just a little more," the AI's voice lowered. "Captain, there is one way to guarantee the weapon's destruction, but it requires everything. If we overload Titanus's core, the blast will annihilate the imploder. But it will also destroy us." Cade froze. His breath caught in his throat. The choice was unbearable. Save Earth by sacrificing Titanus, or gamble on a weaker strike that might fail. The hologram of the last captain's diary appeared before him once more. Her voice echoed across the chamber. "Titanus was never meant to live forever. We were meant to protect humanity, even at the cost of ourselves." Cade closed his eyes. He knew what he had to do. Titanus burst through the last wave of alien ships. The superweapon loomed ahead, rings glowing with deadly light. The AI whispered, "Captain, give the order." And Cade whispered back, "Prepare the core." The sun burned in agony. The alien superweapon's rings spun faster, pulling streams of plasma into its core. Space itself twisted under its power. If it fired, the sun would collapse and Earth would fall into eternal night. But then, through the storm of alien ships, the Titanus emerged. Scarred, burning and broken, the giant warship still flew. Its massive hull was torn, entire decks ripped away, but its engines roared with defiance. Humanity's last warship had reached its target. Inside, the AI's voice was calm. "Captain Cade, we are within range. But our weapons alone will not destroy the imploder. Only a core overload will succeed." Cade's throat tightened. "And if we do that?" The AI paused. "Titanus will not survive." On Earth, billions watched the live feeds. They saw Titanus rise against the sun's light, a lone ship facing a machine the size of a moon. They knew this was the final battle. Families held hands. Soldiers saluted the sky. Humanity prayed. Cade stood tall, even as smoke and sparks filled the bridge. He placed his hand on the console. "Titanus was built to protect Earth. If this is the price, we pay it." The AI's voice softened, almost human. "Then let us finish this together." The order was given. The core began to overload. Lights dimmed across the ship. The engines screamed. Titanus became a star of its own, glowing brighter and brighter. Alien commanders shouted in panic. "It's overloading its reactor. Stop it!" Their fleets surged forward, desperate to strike before the warship reached the weapon. Titanus roared back with its last strength. Cannons blazed, missiles streaked, and the lance cannon cut a swath of fire through the enemy. Human fighters, broken and battered, flew beside it, shielding its flanks. Many did not return, but none turned away. The AI whispered to Cade, "Core at 90%. Impact in 30 seconds." The imploder's rings reached full charge. Streams of fire tore free from the sun's surface. The alien council screamed across comms, "Fire the weapon! End them now." But it was too late. Titanus surged forward, ramming through the last alien battleship. Its hull tore open, flames spilling into space. yet still it flew. The warship's glowing body streaked straight toward the imploder. Inside the council chamber, silence fell. The Chancellor's face twisted in rage and fear. No, it cannot end this way. Humans cannot win. On Earth, the world held its breath. Children clutched their parents. Soldiers stared upward. The entire planet whispered one word, Titanus. The AI spoke one final time. "Captain, thank you for remembering us." Cade stood firm. His last words were steady. For Earth, for humanity, Titanus struck the imploder. The reactor detonated. A blinding light consumed the weapon, tearing it apart piece by piece. The shock waves spread across the void, ripping through alien fleets, shredding dreadnoughts, and silencing their weapons forever. The sun flared with renewed fire, free of its chains. From Earth's surface, the explosion looked like a second star, igniting in the sky. People wept and cheered as the alien fleet vanished in flames. The Council's weapon was gone, the Armada broken. The invasion ended, but Titanus was no more. All that remained were fragments of its hull, drifting slowly near the sun, glowing like embers fading into night. Humanity's last warship had given everything. Silence fell across the planet. Then, as if one voice, Earth cried out in triumph and sorrow, "Titanus lives in us!" Days later, transmissions from surviving human pilots told the story. They spoke of Titanus not as a machine, but as a guardian, of a ship that remembered its promise to humanity and fulfilled it. The alien council, shattered and humiliated, retreated into the dark corners of the galaxy. For the first time in generations, humanity stood unbroken. They had faced extinction and endured. Generations later, when children asked how Earth survived the war, their parents pointed to the stars. They told the story of a forgotten warship that rose again, of brave souls who chose sacrifice over surrender, and always they ended with the same words: humanity still remembers.